This is part 3 of life principles that can change your life. Coming right up. What is up, everyone? My name is KG and I'm here with another video. One of my biggest passions is teaching or sharing principles that are transformational, that are life-changing. So this will be part 3 of a series I started a couple of weeks ago, talking about life principles that can literally transform your life if you apply them. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Principle number 1. The great Saint Augustine once said, "The will of God is equilibrium." So as much as it's important to be patient and allow yourself to grow and become what you were created to become, but there comes a time where you need to start taking solid and decisive action towards your goals. The will of God is equilibrium in the sense that you must know when to wait and you must know when it's time to now start doing something. Oftentimes people justify laziness by saying, I'm just patient, I'm waiting for my time. That's good. It's very important for you to wait for your time. I'm also a strong advocate of, we all have our time in God's calendar in terms of our breakthroughs and that kind of thing. But let's not make that an excuse for sitting back and saying, I'm just waiting for my time. Well, guess what? You'll wait forever. For instance, in the book of Ecclesiastes, we are reminded of the fact that there's a time for everything under the sun. So you can't always be waiting. You can't always be waiting for God. Sometimes it's not a matter of waiting for God, but it might be that God is waiting for you to start taking the necessary action, because unlike before, you are now ready to take the next step. One of the reasons why most people remain stuck in unfulfilling, circumstances is because they always pull the victim card. So they always blame their circumstances for being in certain conditions which are not ideal, or for remaining in certain conditions which are not ideal. So their worldview is that life is happening to them. But winners are those that have managed to make that mind shift to say, life is not happening to me. I need to start happening to life, if that's even a thing. But my point is that winners use their circumstances, regardless of how bad or tough those conditions are. They use those circumstances in their benefit. And we will see that when discussing the next principle, that you need to also start using your pain or your struggles in your favor. We'll get to that shortly. Another key in understanding this principle is in understanding that our thoughts and words create, So how do you stop life from happening to you? You start thinking differently, you start talking differently. That is how you then start happening to life, because instead of leaving things to chance and say, well, wherever life takes me, I'll go, you now start taking control. And the best way to take control of your life is by taking control of your thoughts, which will obviously then translate into the words that you speak. The Bible says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. You can't speak contrary to your thoughts, so it starts in the mind, where you now start saying, I'm in control of my life. What happens in the next days, in the next weeks, in the next months, the next years, basically my destiny is in my hands, and it begins with my thoughts right now. As hard as it may be to accept sometimes, but your current circumstances were brought about by your thoughts, by your words, by your own actions. Most people don't understand the power they possess in their subconscious mind. The beauty, though, is that the mind is reprogrammable. This is a concept called neuroplasticity, which has to do with neural pathways in our minds. They're not fixed. It's possible for you to change a limiting belief, that has been hardwired into your brain over many years, but you can actually start creating new pathways in your brain. How do you do that? Again, by thinking differently, about your circumstances, by thinking differently in your worldview. The simple shift of viewing life as something that is influenced by your thoughts or your actions. Number two, let your struggles serve you. A big part of success has to do with mindset. The same so-called misfortune can happen to two different people, but you may find that based on how each person interprets or perceives that event, the outcome out of that situation is different for the both of them. I've always been one to look at the silver lining of every cloud. I believe that, life is happening for us, not to us. So even when something that is perceived to be bad happens to me, I always ask the question, how can this serve me? What can I learn from this situation? Never waste your pain, never waste your struggles. Always look at how you can turn that situation around to serve you. We are in a journey of growth. We are in a journey of becoming better and better. They say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. You need to have that mindset in order for you to become the best that you can be. And it starts by always understanding that if life allowed it, if God allowed it, it means this thing has some type of benefit for me in terms of where God is trying to take me. I've learned more from my hardships than I have learned from my so-called good times. There's so much benefit in our trials, in our tribulations. Adversity is not there to kill us. It's there to refine us. It's there to grow us. It's there to mature us. So when you cultivate the mindset of using your misfortunes in your favor, you will become a better person each time you come across a difficult situation. You will always come out stronger, smarter, wiser, but it goes back to your perception, of that challenge, of that situation. If you perceive it as something that is against you, then you are not going to benefit from whatever lessons that are hidden in that particular situation. Number three, the power of having a vision. Someone once said, whatever the mind can conceive, it can achieve. We are only as good as our vision. And this ties in nicely with what I talked about in the first principle about, how your thoughts affect your experiences or your reality. No one has ever achieved anything without envisioning it first. Mankind was designed in the image of God. And from that, we also deduce our fundamental traits. God created through imagination. So if we're made in God's likeness and image, and it means we also possess the same, traits in terms of how we function. And a big part of that is the fact that we are creators, we are co-creators. How do we create? We create through our imagination, we create through our thoughts. Every big thing you see today was once a small idea in someone's mind. What has kept me going, what has kept me strong in the midst of adversity is the belief that I'm here for a meaningful purpose. I exist to fulfill a very significant mandate. And, that talks to my vision, the vision I have for my life, which really comes from first spending time in knowing myself, in finding my core self. And that is how I then frame my vision. The Bible says, where there is no vision, the people perish. That's how powerful vision is. And vision is closely related to hope. If you no longer have hope, then you are as good as dead. So what keeps us strong, what keeps us going in the face of adversity is that vision. To say, I was shown a vision before I came into this earth, and until I fulfill or until I see that vision in the flesh, then I'm not going anywhere. That is one of my daily mantras, to say nothing is going to happen to me until I fulfill the purpose for which I was placed on this earth to fulfill. And another great thing about vision is that it helps regulate your life. When you know where you're going, you also automatically know which path is not going to allow you to get there, or which path is going to keep you from getting there. So vision also helps with our focus, with our discipline, because without those two things, you can't really achieve anything worthwhile. So another thing about vision is that if you dream small, then you will only achieve small. As far as you can conceive, it's yours. If you can see it in your mind, then it means you have the innate ability to make it happen. You can't receive further than your ability to envision. Principle number 4, learn from your mistakes. We all make mistakes. Mistakes are a part of life. That's how we grow. We all misjudge certain situations, and as a result, we may choose the wrong way or the wrong option. So there's nothing wrong with making mistakes. It only becomes a problem when we repeat the same mistakes over and over again. And the funny thing about life is that if you don't learn, you will keep on repeating that same lesson until you finally learn. And my observation has been that the level of discomfort increases every time you fail a particular life lesson. For life to force you, for God to force you to learn that lesson, He sort of intensifies the discomfort. So it's because life is a school. We are here to learn. We are here to become better human beings. We are here to learn the concept of unconditional love. And with that process, there's a lot of mistakes that you will make. But if you get it wrong the first time, make sure that you learn and get it right the next time. That's what life is ultimately about. When we make the same mistakes over and over again, it's no longer a mistake. It's a decision. We are choosing not to learn, and we then become stagnant. We then become stuck. I can't remember who said this, but I think it's one of the Greek philosophers, one of the great Greek philosophers, who said, today's wisdom was yesterday's foolishness. And that's true. I don't think anyone was ever born wise. Wisdom comes with experience. Wisdom comes with making mistakes and learning from them. That's how we become better. So the wisest people in the world are those that have learned from their past mistakes. We learn to love better because we've failed in love in a previous relationship. We learn to be better at anything. It could be a skill. We tend to refine a particular skill by making mistakes. When you learn to ride a bicycle, you fall, you rise up again, but now you know how it's not supposed to be done. So failure is not a bad thing, for as long as we learn from it. Principle number 5, know your value. I believe that we all accept the love we think we deserve, and people only treat us according to how we allow them to treat us. So if you don't know your value, then you will allow people to mistreat you, to take advantage of you, to take you for granted. Why? Because you don't know your true value. People who know their value have standards. People who know their value have boundaries. And they communicate those boundaries in advance to say, if you want to be in a relationship with me, these are the rules of engagement, and this I can tolerate, this I can't tolerate. And all of that comes from knowing your value. I've seen people staying in abusive relationships. I've seen people staying in relationships where they are disrespected or taken for granted because they don't know their value. So that person would then treat them according to how they portray themselves. If you don't know your value, how do you expect other people to respect you? So if you don't know your value, how do you expect other people to treat you like you have value? It's like self-esteem. That's something that you portray. That is something that starts with you. You can't expect people to esteem you if you don't esteem yourself. That brings us to the end of this video. Thanks again for watching, guys. If you enjoyed it, you know the drill. Like, share, comment, and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And yeah, until next time, peace.